From India.
We're switching it up. Good evening, everyone. We are here for today's village board meeting, and I would, at this time, call the meeting to order at 7:36 on June 12th. I would also like to say that the meeting is being broadcast on the social media places, Facebook, and who else? YouTube, and it will be recorded. I thank the board for coming. I thank a lot of the people that are in attendance for coming. It's a great meeting. We have a lot of exciting matters to cover. And with that, I would ask our acting village clerk, Charity Jones, because Clerk Saladino is out of town, for a roll call.
Trustee Augustine?
Here.
Trustee Gale?
Here.
Trustee McGee? Trustee O'Brien?
Here.
Trustee Peterson? Here. Trustee Thompson?
Here.
President Kugler?
Here. And Trustee McGee had a family illness that she's attending to, and we wish her all the best with that. One of the things that we're going to be doing today is recognizing and honoring Lou Ciparone for his great dedication to the village. We're going to start out the festivities by having his family, at least 3/4 or 4/5 or something, come to the microphone and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have Lou's wife, Carolyn, his son, Sam, and his daughter, Claire, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to jump right into the president's report, and I'm going to skip around if anybody had an agenda to do C, which is oath of office for Kurt Bluter as our interim police chief. We have several members of the police department here. I want to make sure that they don't get a call or for some other reason have to leave. So let me start with the retirement of Chief Wardlaw, which we were able to recognize at the last meeting as well as last week with some cake and donuts. The services of interim chief are needed while a more permanent replacement is sought. Former Chief Bluter, who grabbed his seat and feeling right at home, has graciously agreed to serve in the role. I'd like to invite Deputy Village Clerk Charity Jones to administer the oath of office for Chief Bluter, and Chief is here also with his wife, Lorraine. So I'm not sure, Lorraine, if you want to come up and be involved too, feel free.
Please raise your right hand. Is it on? I, Kurt Bluter,
I, Kurt Bluter,
having been appointed to the office of interim police fire chief,
having been appointed to the office of interim police chief
police fire chief, sorry about that, in the village of Grange, the county of Cook,
in the village of LaGrange, county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of interim police chief
the duties of the office of interim police chief
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Chief Bluter, do not panic that you're also going to have to sit in the fire chief chair. Next meeting, we will have the new fire chief to introduce. So don't worry, you're not being asked to wear two hats. But we do appreciate you coming back. As I know everybody in the audience knows, Chief Bluter was with us for several years, retired, and has graciously agreed to serve throughout the summer while we actively look for our next police chief. And we thank the guys for coming out and all the officers for their dedication, their service. We realize that whenever there's change at the top, it adds more work below, some confusion at times. We ask you to bear with it, keep your chin up. We're working to make sure that you have everything you need. We do appreciate your service to the village. Lorraine, we appreciate you. Again, having Kurt come and act as our chief, I know it means time away from the family, but it's appreciated. Moving on, I'm going to say a few words because I'm so excited about the quarry litigation. It's been a long time coming. In fact, I grabbed a board meeting from January 12th of 2015, and it actually was one of the first meetings where we started talking about the 50th Street storm sewer. So it's been a long time, obviously 8 years to get to this point. The judge ruled completely in our favor. We have Dan Stanner here. Dan, if you could come to the podium, I'm going to say a few words and then you can correct my mistakes. But the judge found that Hanson, the quarry, intentionally interfered with LaGrange's easement rights. And the judge also found, despite knowing that we had those easement rights, Hanson decided to destroy the sewer. And after destroying the sewer, knowing again that we had the easement rights, they lied to the McCook Zoning Board about it, and that's in the judge's decision. And then after that, they lied to the village again by saying they didn't know who owned the pipe. That's why they did it. They thought it was an abandoned pipe. The judge found that all of those things were out and out lies by Hanson Quarry. myself, I find it very interesting that these lies that were said were actually said by the attorneys, and it's the current attorneys that are still representing the quarry. Basically, they lied to McCook, they lied to the village, and it's my hope that they'll start acting professionally. We'll get this matter resolved. But again, I don't want to get negative. We're here with exciting news. We won. I do, again, want to go back to January of 2015, and give me 1 second here. Say that at the time, the board was made up of President Tom Livingston, Trustee Holder, Trustee Langen, Trustee McCarty, Trustee Novak, and Trustee Palermo, and myself. And that board decided as a group that we were going to do what was necessary to get flood relief for the people south of 47th Street. Although I say as a group, we were really led by Tom Livingston. It was his focus, his idea. He came up with a way. He met with our, at the time, village engineer, Ryan Gillingham, asked Ryan to spearhead the plan. Ryan definitely put in tons and tons of extra hours to make sure that the village had the best workable plan. Tom then went out to the community because Tom came up with the idea that we would need a referendum to pay for it. And I remember at the meeting that President Livingston discussed the need for a referendum, and some of the residents, including Mike Matucci, were concerned. They wanted a different way out. And I remember telling Mike that the only way it was going to get built was if there was a referendum. And the only person that would be able to pass a referendum was Tom Livingston. So much credit goes to Tom. A lot of credit goes to Mike Matucci because Mike went and knocked on doors to make sure that the community understood the need, not just south of 47th, but also north of 47th for the sewer system. And so really, we have Dave McCarty here, and I know we have a lot of people, including Ryan Gillingham, listening at home. So I'd like to give them a round of applause because they did a great job. And I just want to read the first paragraph, and this was of the note from Bob Philipshin, who was the village manager back in December 19th of 2014. This past summer, the village experienced multiple high-intensity rain events that exceeded the limited capacity of the village's sewer system, resulting in flooded basements, streets, and rear yards. In response to the increasing frequency and intensity of the rain events, the village board requested staff to pursue funding and engineering solutions that reduce flooding in an affordable and short time frame than was currently planned. So we recognized back then that there was problems with the flooding, that it was going into people's basements and that it was going in backyards. It was the board's hope that this would be a quick solution. 8 years is by no definition quick, and I want to thank the board that's sitting up here for their continued patience on this. I had the support of the majority of the board to continue on with the litigation, to not get sidetracked and make it a focus. So I do appreciate everyone up here and their support. And lastly, I want to give a lot of credit to Dry Up LaGrange. In the last few years, they organized, they mobilized, they kept this going. I know that the judge just followed the law and the facts, but having 600 members, I think, did help us a little bit, gave us at least good karma, to say the least. The Dry Up LaGrange, under the original leadership of Glenn and then Allie and so many others that have picked up and continued the leadership, has been great, especially working with our elected leaders. They're very responsive to us, and it's because of the great job that Dry Up LaGrange does. So with that said, Dan, or let me say this, Dan's going to give a brief overview of the litigation, where we stand, what we expect. We are also, after this meeting, going to go into closed session to discuss where we stand as far as litigation, acquiring properties, and any other things that our attorney will make sure that I say properly. So, Dan, if you could give us an overview, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So, as most people here know, this has been a long 6-year fight with the quarry about whether the village had a right to discharge water into the quarry. Of course, this whole dispute stems from the fact that the quarry itself cut the pipe back in 1992. The quarry filed this action when the village was planning to increase or improve the storm sewer that empties into the quarry. The quarry originally, the evidence showed, was working with the village to try to reach an accommodation, but suddenly threw the brakes on it and decided that they would just go to court and get an order preventing the village from addressing the problem that was plaguing the residents in that area of the village. The quarry has successfully held up the improvements by pursuing this litigation, and Judge Cohen last year decided that enough was enough. He was going to actually hold the trial, which he did. The trial went on for about 3 weeks. I have to say Judge Cohen was incredibly generous with his time. He even opened the courthouse to us on Election Day so that we could continue to produce the evidence for him. Ultimately, the judge, just to frame the dispute, the quarry said the village had no easement. They had no signed document that showed they had any right to have a pipe running through that property in the first place. The village, and even if they did, this expansion would cause great problems inside the quarry and at the McCook ditch where it ultimately was discharged. The village filed a counterclaim saying we had an express easement with the Hanauer family in the 1920s, and it's a matter of public record. We also said even if we didn't have an express easement, we had an implied easement. We can discuss the details more in closed session, but as reflected in this 40-page opinion from Judge Cohen, he went through it chapter and verse in terms of the evidence. He ultimately decided that all of the quarry's claims were without sufficient factual or legal basis and dismissed those. He said the village was correct. The evidence shows that the village had an express easement from the Hanauers back in the 20s. And he went on to say that at the time that the quarry cut the pipe, the quarry knew about that easement and intentionally interfered with it. And there are a number of documents that were produced during the case and introduced into evidence, perhaps most notably this deed from 1935 that explicitly recognized that there was a right-of-way for the sewer that was in there, and the term right-of-way is synonymous with an easement. There were many other documents, including documents from the quarry's own files that showed that the quarry knew that the village owned that sewer that went across the property, and that they needed to ask the village's permission for something as simple as changing its connection point to that sewer. And of course, the argument that we presented to the judge and that the judge completely understood and agreed with was if you need to ask permission, written permission to tap into the line at some place, you certainly need permission to go in and destroy it. And they never did ask for permission. And after they did destroy the line, Hanson representatives claimed, oh, well, we thought it was abandoned, and the judge said that was dishonest. I will clarify, President Kukler, that those statements were not made by the law firm, but they were made by actual corporate representatives at Hanson. But the point is the same. The judge did say that material misrepresentations were made to the McCook Zoning Board so they could get in there and start digging as soon as possible. And after the village realized they cut the pipe, they were dishonest with the village about the reasons for doing that. So overwhelmingly, it was a victory for the village on all counts. It was a loss for the quarry on all counts. Because the judge decided this after hearing the evidence, seeing the witnesses testify, assessing their credibility, it will be very difficult for them to successfully appeal this, in our opinion. But in terms of next steps, I'll be happy to address those with the board in closed session.
Well, thank you for correcting the record and hopefully keeping me from being sued for in any way. So I apologize for my incorrect statements. But thank you. And before you sit down, I know that we had some witnesses testify on behalf of the village: Tom Livingston, Tom Hoyer, Ryan Gillingham. Am I missing some that we should recognize and thank for their service?
Former village council Bernie Martin.
And Bertie Martin, of course. And thanks to everybody that testified. Also, Mike Kutinik spent 8 years up here while this litigation, as a trustee, while this litigation was ongoing. I appreciate his support also. So thank you, Dan. And it is great to win. We definitely brought in the right attorneys, Dan Stanner, Tabitha DeVito, and Rothstein. Anybody who observed the trial could clearly see that we definitely outlawyered the quarry. So congratulations to your team, and we do appreciate their good efforts. Continuing on with good news, we had the Pet Parade and Carnival. And I want to thank the Pet Parade charities and the LGBA for planning and the tireless work that went into the annual Pet Parade and Carnival. The Pet Parade and Carnival were our wonderful community traditions that give the village an opportunity to celebrate and enjoy our community. They're truly part of what makes Grange so special. I'd also like to thank village personnel for the planning and coordination that went into these events and for the extra effort put in to make sure these events went well. It's really every department, starting with charity, going on to public works, police, fire. We'll even throw in the accounting group to make sure all the money is accounted for and everything else. It takes a lot of efforts from the village staff, but it's a great event, or great events, and we do appreciate everyone's efforts in that regard. The planters outside, a special thank you to the LaGrange Garden Club for their efforts in designing and planting the beautiful planters throughout our downtown. The planters are a great addition to the warm and inviting atmosphere of our downtown. We all can take pride in the appearance of our downtown and for the generous contributions of those who helped install them. They look absolutely great, and I appreciate it. I'm happy to announce that on a week from today will be Juneteenth, both a state and federal holiday. The Community Diversity Group will be hosting a Juneteenth celebration on Monday, June 19th at 4:30 at the Community Center on 200 Washington Drive. The theme is "No one is free until everyone is free." Dr. Bessie Boyd will moderate, and I will join Minister and Park Board Commissioner Lynn Lacey and others in the celebration. The mosaic design has been approved for the community center. 1-hour workshops will be held to lay tiles and creating the 8 murals of the design, and will take place between 3 o'clock and 7 p.m. on August 22nd to the 30th, and on Saturday, September 9th, with Green Star. Anyone under age 18 must be accompanied by an adult. When complete, the mosaic murals will be attached to the building, and there will be a celebration in early October. And again, I know that the Sisters of St. Joseph are very active and very involved in the community diversity group. They're going to be, and the Juneteenth celebration. So I want to welcome and invite everybody to come out again a week from today on the 19th at 4:30 at the community center. It's a great event. I enjoyed it tremendously last year. It was my first time celebrating Juneteenth, and it's wonderful. And it's a holiday again, so a lot of people are off of work, so that's fantastic. It's time for some more reappointments to advisory boards and commissions. The village is fortunate to have talented individuals that are willing to volunteer their time to serve on the village's boards and commissions. This item will reappoint individuals to serve on those boards and commissions. There are a few of these individuals that may be in the audience, and they should rise when we mention their names. and we have them here. I'm going to ask, I will read the names and then ask for a motion and a second for the reappointments. The first is on the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, Elise Hoffenberg to be reappointed as chair. Next is Community Economic Development Commission, Russ Roberto as chair and Lisa Schur to be reappointed. The next is the Design Review Commission, Ray Baker reappointed. Next is Environmental Quality Commission, Allie Bowe to be reappointed, and Molly Mahoney to be reappointed. Next is Plan Commission, Julie Egan to be reappointed. And last, but obviously not least, the Zoning Board of Appeals, Paul Kirpin to be reappointed. So with that, I would entertain a motion and a second.
I move for approval of the appointments and reappointments as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee Peterson. Voice vote on that? And then I would ask, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I didn't think so. That passes unanimously. Next up is the appointment and reappointment to the Liquor Commission. I would ask for a motion and a second to appoint Tim O'Brien as the new Liquor Commissioner to take over from Trustee Kotinik and reappoint Beth Augustine to that position.
I move for the appointment of Trustee O'Brien to serve on the Liquor Commission and the reappointment of Trustee Augustine.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee Peterson. Do I do a voice vote on that? And do the two members vote? Okay, terrific. Both of you can vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you for agreeing to serve. Okay. Again, last but obviously not least, we have to recognize Finance Director Lou Ciparroni for 29 years of distinguished service to the village. Director Ciparroni is retiring on June 23rd. It'll be a week from Friday. The village is extremely grateful for his service and has prepared the following resolution to recognize his services. Whereas Lou Ciparroni began his career at the Village of Oak Park prior to joining the LaGrange Finance Department as Assistant Finance Director in 1993 and being promoted to Finance Director in 1996. And whereas during his service as Finance Director, Lou has also served as the Village Collector, the Village Treasurer, Fire Pension Staff Liaison, Police Pension Staff Liaison, and whereas he has overseen a comprehensive budgeting process which has received the Governmental Finance Officer Association's Distinguished Budget Award for 28 years. That's 28 consecutive years. Whereas Lou has managed the LaGrange Annual Comprehensive Financial Reports process, which he received the Government Finance Officer Association's Certificate of Achievement for Comprehensive Annual Financial Reporting for 27 consecutive years. And again, Lou and Joe prepare so much of the documents themselves, whereas Lou skillfully navigated COVID-19 pandemic, working with the village's management team to secure reimbursement and pursue funding through the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security, the CARES Act, as well as working with FEMA. And whereas Lou undertook many complex projects outside of the finance department during his tenure, including overseeing the implementation of 2 new village-wide phone systems and a multitude of information technology and improvements. And whereas Lou is highly regarded for his steadfast manner, subject matter expertise, willingness to clarify complex topics, understanding his role as a vital member of the village's management team, and whereas after a distinguished 29-year career with the Village of LaGrange the Finance Department, Lou intends to retire from service on June 23rd, 2023. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Village President, Village Clerk, and the Board of Trustees of the Village of LaGrange, on behalf of everyone and the village community, do hereby extend a deep gratitude, admiration, and warmest wishes to Lou Ciparoni and commend him on the legacy of service to this great village. So with that, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the resolution of appreciation.
A motion we
for-
approve?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Augustine. Trustee Gale, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And why don't we start with a round of applause for Lou? I'll open it to trustee comments, and I'll ask if anybody in the audience has anything to say. And Lou, if you have anything to say, by all means. Lou Gale, why don't we start with you? That seems to make the most sense.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I had a couple remarks, but I thought I'd start with some numbers too, since you're a numbers guy, and just add some levity. So in 1993, I was a freshman in college. 1996, I graduated from college. So I thought I would share those statistics with you, Lou. But thank you, Lou. It's sad to see another Lou step away, but thank you for being such an excellent steward of the village's resources. I mean, it's such an incredibly important job and responsibility. Thank you for taking the time to explain every invoice and any question I ever had about just the day-to-day operations of the village. Thanks for taking the time to discuss the ins and outs of property taxation. I had the pleasure, as all of us board members do, of eventually doing the property tax levy and walking me through and explaining that in much greater detail than what I thought I knew before joining this board. Right. And thank you for always just being there when I called and being willing to explain, the operations of our village. We're lucky to have had you, and we're going to miss you. And certainly, please don't be a stranger. So thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Lou.
So I'm going to start with, what does LTAC mean? What is the MTF? What is an enterprise fund? It started when I was a candidate, so that was fall of 2020. It has not stopped. Usually we do the lightning round before every meeting where I have to ask him what all the acronyms are, because I don't know. So I have to say, you have been patient, professional, and a vital source of information, and you have assisted my rise to the table. So I greatly appreciate that, and it has been a pleasure and a privilege to work with you.
Thank you.
Lou, I'll make it short and sweet. Thanks for all you've done for the village. Thanks for all you've done for me. Really appreciate all your hard work. And as Lou said, don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee O'Brien. Please.
Thank you, President Kukler. Lou, you will be missed, and I feel like I've said that too much in the last couple of years. You're one of the last ones to go with quite a bit of knowledge. The last 3 decades have been incredibly full of change, ups and downs, and you've seen it all, and you've steadfastly helped us navigate. I think I'm just going to throw out a lot of words and phrases here now. You are kind, funny, warm, easy to know, and excellent to work with, as Peggy said. Any questions you answer clearly and easily for us to understand at any level. Because of your insight and advice, we've navigated, as I've said, many storms, financial, of course. You've helped us build and execute various referendums and orchestrate many giant financial plans that kept us moving forward carefully and responsibly. Not the least of which, and we don't talk about it much anymore, but our downtown looks pretty darn good right now. The TIF fund that you helped manage was a big, big, big part of that. Some towns maybe not so successful with that, but LaGrange was, and you were a big, big part of why that worked out well for us. The austerity measures that we went through back in 2007, 2008, flooding, engineering, all the things that have come up with it, we've had to run the numbers on, you've been right behind it. And I'm sure we'll find someone else who can do the job, but there'll be no one like you, no one with your expertise, no one with your depth, and no one with your deep understanding of LaGrange. So don't change your cell phone number. We appreciate it. Sad to see you go, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Trustee Thompson, I'm not sure if you have a few words. I know it's early in the career, but feel free.
Yeah, it's early in the career, but and I know we haven't had a chance to work together. In fact, we've worked together at the budget meeting, and I will say that is truly the best prepared budget I've ever seen at a municipal level or business level. It made it so easy for me. You always said, let's sit down and go through it, but really there were no questions after I read it. So I'm really going to miss you because I was hoping to get a lot of leadership from you, especially now that I read I'm the guy in charge of finance presentations. So, you know, look forward, and again, stay in touch, and thank you for all you've done for the village.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. I do want to say a few words on behalf of President Tim Hansen, President Liz Asperger, President Tom Livingston, and obviously myself. It's really hard to imagine doing the role of village president without having Lou Cipriano running the finances. As president, things come up. You have worrying, you have citizens complaining about things, and a lot on the plate. But one thing in LaGrange we didn't have to worry about. We never had to worry about financial improprieties. We never had to worry about, well, I wonder if anybody's cutting corners, maybe taking something they shouldn't. It just was never a concern because Lou did such a great job and because he's such a great guy. But that's really just the beginning of it. He did his finance job impeccably and wonderfully, but truly it was just the tip of the iceberg. His attitude, his coolness permeated through the other departments. And, you know, these are high pressure jobs and for these department heads. And so it's hard for them to always be level headed, but there was always Lou to calm them back down, that tomorrow will be another day to at least soften some of the critical statements that could be made. And that's, is going to be probably impossible to replace. Always, when a department head was going to be hiring another department head, they wanted Lou in on the recruiting and the evaluations because they were hoping to find people like Lou. And that's just going to be missed. When we needed somebody to stand in to be president, it was always Lou that you would ask first. Can you do it? Can you handle it? If you can't, who would be best? And his advice was always spot on. So Lou, thank you for your efforts in the finance department, but truly, in the 29 years, you touched every part of the village, and LaGrange is a great village. A lot because of your 29 years. So with that, I would open it up to the people in the crowd.
David McCarty, 600 South Madison in LaGrange. Thanks, Lou. It's been a great ride. The other Lou mentioned briefly the concept. It's the village board's version of hazing. They give their first task is always that impossible to understand financial and real estate tax thing. And I can't imagine who gets the worst end of that deal, the trustee or poor you that has to teach us again and again and again. Always with patience, always with kindness, and always with the understanding that it makes LaGrange better. And boy, you made LaGrange better. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. It's appreciated. Lou, do you have some words that you want to say? Awesome.
Wrote down a few things here to make sure I didn't miss anybody or anything. Well, it says I'm on. but maybe not.
You may have to go to the podium.
Go to the podium? Okay.
More used to talking from over there, but I guess this will do on a night like tonight. Certainly appreciate all the kind words, but it's truly been my privilege to have worked for the village, as I really have enjoyed every aspect of my time here in LaGrange. Many thoughts and feelings come to mind on a night like tonight, but the one that seems most fitting for me is how grateful I am. Grateful for the opportunities that have been provided to me during my career, for the ongoing trust and support received from the village president and trustees, both up at the dais as well as those here in the audience, who endeavor to preserve and enhance the quality of life in LaGrange and strive to ensure that LaGrange remains an exceptional place to live and to work. Grateful to have worked with many managers, department heads, coworkers, some of whom are no longer with us, that remain committed to serving the community and providing residents with high-quality public services across all departments. Although many of the accolades tonight have been directed at me, I am certainly grateful and extremely fortunate to have been part of an outstanding and dedicated finance department. Some are here tonight, way in the back row for some reason. We got Sandy Shalaby, Cheryl Arquilla, and Joe Menizza, who have been an outstanding and dedicated in their responsibilities, and very proud of what we were all able to accomplish together. Grateful to have been part of a special community that has endured and overcome many challenges over the years. Change is inevitable, and I have great confidence that LaGrange will continue to thrive, which makes retiring somewhat easier, but it will certainly most certainly be the people that I have had the honor and privilege to work with over the years that will be greatly missed. I am also especially grateful for my family, who's here with me tonight. My 3 children, Sam, Claire, and Kate, who we made go to her first night at work instead of being here with us, but who make me proud every day, mostly. But most of all, for my wife, Carolyn, who has supported, encouraged, and often tolerated me along the way. So what I would like to say to all of you is thank you, and to the village, for allowing me to work for and be part of such an outstanding organization. Thank you to the residents, trustees, and all of my many coworkers. I do wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Very well said, Lou. And for Sandy, Cheryl, and Joe, thanks for coming out tonight. And Joe will be sitting up here in 2 weeks, and we do appreciate that. For Carolyn, Sam, Claire, and Kate, who's working, thank you. We know it's not easy having your dad or husband leave every other Monday night for the board meeting. Some of the budget meetings where he spent a lot of weekends preparing and things like that. We know you miss activities, family activities, and things like that. We appreciate the sacrifice. We know that you're awfully proud of Lou and his great job, and we wish you all the best. And now that you're going to have Lou 24/7. But in all seriousness, congrats, Lou. I did say that was least, but it isn't. There's one more, and that's trustee presentation and liaison assignments. Annually, assignments are tendered for the responsibility of presenting board items and liaisons to the board and committees. This year's assignments have been presented for acceptance, and I'd ask to have a motion to accept the trustee presentation and liaison assignments, as well as a second.
I move for acceptance of the trustee presentation and liaison assignments.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale, Trustee Augustine. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. With that, I would ask Manager Knight if there's a manager's report.
There is, and thank you, President Kukler. Good evening, everybody. Brainerd Avenue, work has begun in earnest in replacing water main along Brainerd Avenue. The contractor is targeting installation of 100 feet of water main per day. Part of this work will include the closure of Brainerd Rail Crossing. Once the village is notified of the closure date, message boards will be displayed and communications will go out to the community. Part of the work includes the ability of residents to take advantage of negotiated pricing for the replacement of lead service lines. Replacement of lead service lines or acknowledgement refusing replacement are part of the village's efforts in complying with the Lead Service Line Replacement and Notification Act by the state. I'd like to extend my thank you to Director Ciparoni for his years of dedicated service to this community, and welcome Interim Chief Kurt Bluter to the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manager Knight. With that, I would ask Deputy Clerk Charity Jones to read the items under the both consent agenda and current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Items include item A, a resolution approving a contract with EHMS Mechanical Services for the repair to Village Hall Auditorium air conditioning unit. Item B, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting, Monday, May 22nd, 2023. Item C, consolidated voucher 230612. And current business, this agenda item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, a resolution approving task order number 270 with Baxter & Woodman, Inc. for 50th Street Storm Relief Storm Sewer Design Engineering, and a resolution approving task order number 10 with Christopher B. Burke Engineering, project management and agency coordination for South Basin Stormwater Project. Item B, special event approval, LaGrange Craft Fair.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. With that, I would ask if there's anyone in the audience that has any comments on matters on tonight's agenda. I think we have somebody.
President Kukler, Dan Stanner. I don't have the transcript of everything that you said earlier today, but there is one point that I want to make perfectly clear. I don't think it's a correction. I think it's just
Clarification.
Nobody should interpret your comments as directed at the individual attorneys who tried the case with us before Judge Cohen. They were not involved in any of the appearances before the McCook Zoning Board or any of the other items at issue in the case. I just want to make sure that that's clear and on the record.
And I will again make that clear and second everything Dan said as far as making sure that I say everything that's appropriate. So again, apologize if there was any misimpressions that were given by that. With that being said, I would then ask for a motion for the matters on the consent agenda.
I move for acceptance of the consent agenda as presented.
Second? Anyone? Thank you, Trustee Gale. Trustee Peterson. Any comments regarding the consent agenda? And I'll start with Trustee Augustine.
Thank you again, President Kukler. Just as previously stated, I recuse myself from voting on any agenda items related to the village prosecutor.
Seeing no other comments, I would ask for, I'm sorry.
So, since I didn't
Trustee-
realize that we were going to vote, the consent agreement was covering the two, Baxter and Woodman and Burke. So I do have a couple of questions, or is that going to come up second?
They're actually not. That's under current business.
All right,
So we'll have plenty of time to discuss that. So perfect. With that clarification, any other questions? And if not, I would ask Clerk Jones for a roll call vote.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
McGee absent. O'Brien.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Moving on now to current business. We do have a few items under current business. I'm going to lead off with the two resolutions. I'm going to just say some brief words. Rick's going to give some more detail, and then we'll have plenty of time for trustee questions before we vote individually on each matter. Do we have two resolutions, right? The first resolution is the task order 270 with Baxter and Woodman from 50th Street Storm Relief Sewer. And then the second resolution is approving task order 10 with Christopher Burke. Attorney Schuster, should these be voted on separately or as one?
There are two resolutions, so I'd recommend voting on them separately.
Perfect. So maybe, Rick, it makes sense, though, that we'll do all the discussion on both, and then we'll do votes following the discussion. But what I'm going to need to start off the discussion, I guess, is a motion and a second for the two resolutions.
So I move for acceptance of both the resolution approving task order 270 with Baxter and Woodman and task order 10 with Christopher Burke Engineering.
Second.
All right. We have, I heard Trustee Gale moving and Trustee Thompson seconding. I appreciate that. And with that, Director Colby, if you can lead us off with the explanation of what these are, why we need them, and what we're hoping to accomplish.
All right. Thank you, President Kukler. Good evening, board. Good evening, everyone in attendance. We did want to provide an overview of the proposed task orders that are being presented tonight to the board for their approval, and some background for anyone who may not have as deep of a knowledge of the issues being discussed with respect to stormwater this evening. So the South Basin area is defined as the area in the village south of 47th Street. This area is prone to overland flooding in depressional areas or low spots during severe rainstorm events, most recently in 2020 and 2021. The subbasin forms what's referred to as the Des Plaines River Tributary A during critical storm events, and our existing combined sewer and storm sewer systems cannot handle the volume of flow and become overwhelmed, leading to flooding that places a large number of homes and structures at severe risk. To address flooding in this area, the village has developed plans to expand our stormwater system along 50th Street. Proposed is a project that will aim to improve the level of flooding protection for the 5 depressional areas that exist within the South Basin, and it's worth noting that while this proposed project will significantly reduce flooding risk, it is not feasible to eliminate all risk of flooding. The village is working with several partners to construct a large-scale, multi-year capital infrastructure project to expand our stormwater sewer system capacity. Partners in this effort include the engineering firms of Christopher Burke and Baxter and Woodman for technical support. The village is working in coordination with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago as part of their Stormwater Partnership Program for funding. This item that you have before you tonight is in regard to 2 agreements pertaining to the engineering work associated with executing this construction effort. The first is a resolution regarding a task order agreement with Baxter and Woodman for the creation of a biddable package for constructing the 50th Street trunk sewer, and includes additional engineering that might be necessary for Stormwater Partnership Program for preliminary engineering of any lateral sewer lines to depressional areas that would be coordinated with the construction of the 50th Street trunk sewer. Baxter and Woodman is best positioned to serve in this capacity as they conducted the initial design, bid, and award, which was then postponed for the original 50th Street trunk sewer design. The second is a resolution regarding a task order agreement with Christopher Burke, Project Management Services, which includes interagency coordination, peer review of engineering plans, and project planning. This arrangement allows for a division of labor between the firms, improving efficiency and improving the quality of the output of the effort. This type of teaming arrangement has been used to great success in other instances for similar sized and complexity stormwater projects. Staff is ready and eager to pursue this project and has assembled a strong project team to efficiently and successfully deliver this project on behalf of the village and its residents. Factors including litigation, finalizing an intergovernmental agreement with MWRD, permitting, agency reviews, and contractor timeframes stand to influence the exact timing of the project. But with those factors aside, the targeted timeframes for milestone in this project include executing an intergovernmental agreement with MWRD by the end of September of this year, engineering and permitting of the main line or the trunk sewer along 50th Street, completing that preparation for potential bid by January of next year, bidding an award of the 50th Street storm sewer by the end of March of 2024, and then continuing with lateral sewer, any preliminary engineering work that's necessary by April of 2024 in coordination with the overall project effort. With that said, there's additional information, but staff would recommend the approval of the proposed resolutions 270 with Baxter and Woodman for the 50th Street storm sewer design engineering effort, an amount not to exceed $447,759, and the proposed resolution approving task order number 10 with Christopher B. Burke, engineering for the project management regarding the South Basin Stormwater Project in the amount not to exceed $133,204.
Thank you, Director Colby. And then I'm going to open it up for trustee comments, and I'll start with Trustee Thompson.
Thank you, President Cookler. So these are more, I guess, clarification questions and just requests as I read through the order. So, and make sure I'm clear, the size of the pipe going into the quarry will remain at 54 inches.
That's correct.
Does this study then take into effect the changes of the impact of that being smaller than what the original plan was?
They will analyze the hydraulic performance of the system and maximize the level of flooding protection that the system can provide.
Will they update the study based on the 2021 flood, the last one, versus just having the 2020 flood updated into it?
So, yeah, so in general, it's all trying to get a maximum level of protection.
Okay.
So the more recent storm intensity, it's actually they're modeling for 10 to 25 year storm, and they're looking for the critical event. So what's the worst storm profile? That I think the kind of the more accurate way is they're using the most up-to-date hydrological rainfall data for the model that they're producing.
The Baxter and Woodman report from September 21st, 2020, which MWRD has, and I know they were big in pushing on the laterals. In the 10-year, 2-hour duration storm, which matches most closely the last storm event we had. I'm worried about us putting in laterals, and I've talked to engineers there about that we don't need, that will prove no purpose. So lateral, the 48th and 9th shows 0 homes saved out of 0 homes, and there's only 8 homes in it. And then 48th and Ashland shows the same result. Will those be relooked at so that if we don't need to build them and there's really no salvage, we can save the money by not building those just to make somebody happy?
Yeah, so the division of labor between Christopher Burke and Baxter and Woodman, Baxter and Woodman's going to focus on initially the trunk line sewer design and execution. Okay. That's necessary and needed in all scenarios. Christopher Burke then is going to work with MWRD, analyze all alternatives, and then determine help with our input, the best cost benefit and factors of safety for any additional laterals that MWRD might require as part of their partnership program. So we're looking at those, and if there's limited benefit, we're certainly not going to pursue an additional lateral.
And then the last question was just looking at link ladder being added as a lateral. It's so long, so expensive. Does the link ladder flooding overtake the stormwater system that we're going to build and prevent it from taking water out of the area? And should it be eliminated just because it's such a different issue and such a different flooding area?
Yeah, so
to save that cost.
Absolutely. So this intention is to look at the entire South Basin, south of 47th. That includes Depressional 1. So all 5 depression areas are being kind of included in the analysis that's being proposed by the engineering firms.
Awesome. Thank you. No further questions.
Welcome to the board. We member of the Giant Grange. Came ready with the questions. Any other questions, comments? With that, we have 2 resolutions, and we have the same people making the motion, so I think we can go right in for a vote on the resolution for task order 270 with Baxter and Woodman. If you could call for the roll call, please.
Of course. Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McGee absent. Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Next up is a resolution approving task order number 10 with Chris Burke Engineering. And again, Clerk Jones, if you could call a roll call vote.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McGee absent. Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. And we will be discussing matters in closed session relating to, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We will be discussing the quarry litigation again in closed session. Moving on, we have another matter up for board consideration and approval, and that's a special event for the Grange Craft Fair, and I'd refer that to Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kukler. So the craft fair is coming up, and it was the pet parade just last week, just a week ago. I'm happy to see Executive Director Nancy Cummings in the audience tonight, and Kathy Domenico, our new Executive Director, also here. We're all excited to be working with both of you now, and Kathy, welcome to it. So the craft fair is really the other big event in our the Central Business District, and it's extremely popular, and it is older than the carnival. It is this year going to be on its 49th year of continuous operations of selling duck clothes and other great items. Really, that's just the funniest one for me, but it is absolutely amazing the kind of things that you can find at this great little craft sale. So the LGBA has submitted a request to, again, for the 49th year, to have this fair here in our downtown. It has brought in literally thousands of visitors to LaGrange annually and has been ranked among the top 200 best juried craft shows. So you've got to meet a threshold to get into this. This is not just anyone making things. It is really, really wonderful items. The LGBA has proposed to hold the 2023 craft fair in the traditional two-day format on Friday, July 15th and Saturday, July 16th, rather than the three-day format used in more recent years. This year's fair is also proposed to return to the traditional layout along LaGrange Road, the LaGrange Road sidewalk. So you'll see these white tents lining the street. Harris, and that'll be also from Harris Avenue between LaGrange Road and Ashland, and it will take up village parking lots number 3 and 4. And rather than this is rather than the modifications that were used to accommodate COVID mitigations. Once again, we'll be able to utilize the blacktop area of Casa School, which in previous couple of years have been used for vendors, and now again can be used for event parking, so that's more convenient for everybody. And also, as in the past, LGBA has hired a company called Craft Productions, Inc., as the organizer, and the craft fair will include approximately 200 exhibitors. Approval of the event will require the closures, of course, of streets, so Harris Avenue, as I said, parts of Madison, and the lots. Temporarily waiving the enforcement of metered parking for the duration of the event is also recommended. Village staff has reviewed this request, and we would like to recommend the approval of this event subject to the following conditions: that all licenses, permits, and insurance coverages be obtained to the satisfaction of the village, that the village maintains final approval of site security, parkings, and utility plans. The Craft Productions must ensure that all vendors sign a participant acknowledgement, release, and waiver. The LGBA must secure all necessary permissions from Casa School for use of their property. All affected property owners and tenants shall be notified in writing of the proposed street closures no less than 2 weeks prior to the event. Portable toilets are to be delivered Friday morning by 8 a.m. Portable toilets, general refuse dumpster, recycling dumpster must be removed before the start of business 8 a.m. Monday, July 17th. All costs incurred by the village for materials and labor will be reimbursed by Craft Productions. 2 more. Vendors are to be notified that no displays of merchandise are to be placed in village planters. And number 9, vendors must park in off-site locations as detailed in Craft Productions, Inc. letter of agreement so as to minimize impacts to customer parking. As I said earlier, representatives from the LGBA are here tonight. I hope they will get up and say a little something about this better than I have. And they'll be available for us, I guess, if we have any questions. But I would recommend approval of this event once again.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. You're moving for approval?
Moving for approval.
And looking for a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Any comments? First one, and do Kathy, does somebody want to speak? Nancy? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Nancy Cummings with the LaGrange Business Association. I just wanted to comment in this 49th year of this event, it draws a lot of foot traffic, not only to LaGrange, but into our shops and restaurants, with people who are coming from a number of zip codes to attend this particular event. The do-it-yourself market is incredibly trendy. The COVID pandemic really reinforced the idea of people exploring their own creative sides in creating things with their own hands. And so we're expecting a really nice pickup in attendance this particular year, weather permitting, into LaGrange. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Nancy, will Ripson be helping with any communication, or do we have any
Not for this
plans?
particular event. This will all be from the LGBA.
Okay, well, good luck in getting it out there,
Yes,
and
thank
we
you.
do appreciate all the efforts.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thanks. We know it's a great event, and we do appreciate the LGBA's hard work with it. With that being said, I would ask Clerk Jones for a roll call vote.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McGee absent. Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
And that matter passes unanimously. At this time, I'm not sure if I asked before, but I'll ask again. Are there any public comments on matters not on tonight's agenda? Fantastic. Please come up to the microphone and state your name. And we're happy to hear from you.
Good evening. Mary O'Dowd, resident of Darien. Thank you all for your time and service, and thank you for allowing me to speak. On March 3rd, I sent the following request to the Public Works Department regarding the alley behind 737 South LaGrange Road. Hi, I am a friend and care provider to a special needs woman who lives on the east side of LaGrange Road between 49th and 50th Streets. Access to the home is through the alley located between LaGrange Road and 6th Avenue. The alley is rife with potholes, which are especially dangerous to navigate during heavy rainfall. Aside from concerns about damage to my vehicle and other vehicles using the alley, I fear for the safety of my friend, who often needs support while walking. For the safety of all concerned, I respectfully ask the village to inspect the alley and correct the dangerous situation. As of May 15th, more than 2 months later, I had not been contacted by anyone from the village. I emailed Richard Colby, Director of Public Works, for an update. On May 25, I received an email from Katie Murphy at Public Works stating that since my original request, quote, "These potholes have been filled in on a couple of occasions," end quote. The email further stated that, quote, "At this time, there are no plans to resurface the alley." On May 30th, I replied to Mr. Colby and Ms. Murphy stating, "I have not noticed any recent repairs to the alley between 49th Street and 50th Street, so I am confused as to what work was done there since March 3rd. I have yet to hear back from the village. This is not acceptable. 737 South LaGrange Road is a group home for clients of Helping Hand, an organization dedicated to improving the lives of children and adults with developmental disabilities. Those special needs clients, their amazing, dedicated staff, and all the taxpayers who reside along the alley deserve to be safe. Please, do the right thing and make that happen. I have copies of my entire correspondence with Public Works, which I'd like to give to the village clerk for your review.
Sure, thank you. Ms. O'Dowd, first, thank you for coming tonight. We do appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Also, thank you for your hard work on behalf of our residents. We know it's not an easy job that you do, but we appreciate it, being a caregiver and helping your friend. So thank you with regard to that. With regard to the situation or the condition of the alley, let us look at it. I've already mentioned to Manager Knight to begin the investigation to see what can be done with regard to the alley. We'll check on that, and we can always improve on our communication, and we'll work on that too. So I appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and I'm sure you'll at least get some emails this week, and hopefully whatever repairs can be done can be started also. So thank you. With that, any other? Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Randy Valenta. I am resident and landlord at 19 South LaGrange Road here, just north of us right now. Been a resident of LaGrange for 29 years, and I've been at the 19 South address for about 11 years now. And I dare say that I've had eyes and ears on the downtown situation pretty much constantly for the last 11 years, probably more than just about anybody in this room. Maybe not Milo, but maybe so. I don't know. I'm very concerned about the traffic law respect and adherence that I'm not seeing in our downtown environment. And let me bring up a few very specific instances. Illegal left turns from eastbound Callender onto LaGrange Road. As you all know, the curbing is structured there to very closely indicate that you can only turn right. And there are about 3 or 4 signs that say don't turn left. I can sit in my second floor, I can sit on a bench outside, and every hour see somebody turning left at that corner. Personal cars, commercial vehicles, our friends at Amazon seem to find it a lot more quickly to take that left and make 3 rights. And it's a very dangerous place to do that because what they're doing is crossing that newly painted crosswalk right across LaGrange Road with that stop sign right in the middle of it. And of course, not stopping, but giving us other gestures as to what we can do with our concerns. Concerns for the kids that are walking across the street from Impact Dance Studios to get to the parking lots, or from Water Lemon to get to the west side of the street. And it's just causing a very dangerous situation. Very aggressive drivers. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of aggressive drivers yourself on LaGrange Road as well. Let me tell you that just isn't you seeing 1 or 2 isolated instances. It's happening all the time. And President Kukler, when you talk about that warm and friendly feeling that the carnival and the pet parade gives us, somebody sitting out at Kama Bistro or Steak and Vine and having a car roar by them at 45 miles an hour or playing some loud stereo is going to take that warm and friendly feeling right out of them. They might not come back. They might even tell their friends. That's not only happening on LaGrange Road either. Speaking of alleys east of LaGrange Road, that one behind the 0 to, well, let's call it GP Italiano to Blueberry Hill, that's seeing a lot of high-speed traffic as well. From the north to the south, a small import going 40 miles an hour and telling people to get out of the way as he's driving. Another one driving 40 miles an hour, going from south to north, the wrong direction. Also, with some choice comments for the residents that are just trying to make their way around there. And that uncontrolled intersection from the southbound alley and the 6th Avenue lot, where you have to get into the alley to turn around to go back through the second half of the lot, people don't realize that that's an intersection. And there have been accidents there. Once again, people expect to park in the 6th Avenue lot and cross that alley to go to the hair salon, to go to the restaurants. You've got mothers bringing and fathers bringing children down to Water Lemon. We approved that business down there knowing that there were going to be kids around there. And they're in the alley now. We can't have that kind of aggressive driving go unchecked unless we want to really see some problems. Speaking of left turns, we've done a great job putting signs up at Hillgrove and Burlington, at LaGrange Road, at 3 of the 4 intersections, telling people that it's illegal to make those left turns. Guess what? Every hour of every day, it's happening at intersections that are trying to accommodate commuters walking that can get very busy. And it's a recipe for disaster. At least it's causing a lot of bad feelings among our residents. Now, I could go on with other details, but your time is valuable, and you've already heard from other people in the village about their traffic problems in the residential areas with speeding cars, with heavy trucks not respecting truck route signs and indications. All that is adding up together to say that we have a lack of traffic discipline in this town. And when none of that is being addressed, everybody is seeing nobody cited for anything that's happening on our streets. With a little bit more presence and a little bit more activity, people would see that we take our traffic laws seriously here. I'd like to ask that we, with the police department, look into what we can do to enforce the traffic laws that are going to keep our residents safe in their neighborhoods, people in downtown, the citizens, the businesses, our visitors, happy, coming back and feeling safe, like they're coming to the warm and friendly village that we're trying to portray here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Valenta. We do appreciate you coming out tonight. We can't emphasize enough that from the board to the public, how important it is for pedestrian safety. We don't need another tragedy in LaGrange. And even short of a fatality, there's been plenty of accidents, collisions, negligent driving, unsafe driving. So we hear you. We hear the residents' concerns. We'll continue to work to make the village as safe as possible. We know that the police department takes your words seriously. Chief Bluter will, when he's meeting with the troops, will explain that again, it's comments that are being made. But the men and women in the police force know it. They're doing their best, and they'll continue to do so. But we do encourage all residents to come out and talk and remind. I know you said about the Amazon trucks, and we won't have to have another attorney say any warnings about angering any corporations, but I will say this, that it's not just the Amazon trucks. It's a lot of our residents. It's a lot of our residents are driving around. They really need to step up their game, be a little more careful. Our visitors, our parents, and I'm one of them, that have younger drivers, need to continually remind them, slow down, be careful. We have bike riders, we have pedestrians, and we all need to do our part. So thank you for coming out and reminding us. I do appreciate that. Any other comments? Seeing none, we are going to go into a closed session, but before we do that, I would ask if there's any trustee comments. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple things real quick. One, I just want to underline and bold the pedestrian safety issue. One thing I've learned recently is that, in fact, like nationwide, pedestrian safety is worsening, that auto fatalities, the passengers of vehicles, those fatalities continue to go down, but in fact now pedestrian fatalities are on the upswing over the last few years. So I want to encourage Chief Bluter. I said it at one of the other meetings, light these people up, give them some tickets. And I get a text from Mike Katinik every time I say that, so I'm looking forward to getting one tonight. So that's one thing. And we don't want to lose our walkable downtown. I think that's a great village asset. Second of all, I wanted to on the flooding. I wanted to mention two people. One who's here, Trustee McCarty. I had the pleasure of working with him on one of the discrete issues. We were trying to evaluate whether or not one of the compromises that had been proposed to us was worth taking versus going the route of litigation. And our recommendation was litigation, which seems to have bared out. And then I also want to really mention Trustee Holder, who I had the pleasure of interviewing Dan Stanner when we were evaluating who to bring us through the trial. I believe I would not be alive if I had not agreed with him that they were the ones to hire. I mean, he was emphatic that these were the guys to take us through it, and that's borne fruit as well. So I wanted to acknowledge that from Trustee Holder. So thanks.
Well, I do appreciate that, Trustee Gale, and we do have Trustee McCarty here. I do remember as a recently appointed president dealing with a lot of flooding issues and not really sure what to do, picking two people, one that's an architect and one that's an engineer, an architect, to really work on what's best. And you guys did yeoman's work on looking at every alternative there is and reporting to our board. So I do appreciate that. And I do remember Trustee Holder talking about there were 3 firms that the village interviewed, all very good litigators, and I know Dan knows all 3 firms well. And they gave their proposals, and I'm glad, although the other 2 would have done great, I'm sure, I'm glad that we did go with Tabit DeVito and that we were successful. So I do appreciate those words. With that, any other trustee comments? Seeing none, let me read my closed session things. So under Section 2C5 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, to discuss the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, and under Section 2C11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, to discuss pending, probable, or imminent litigation. And we also have 2C21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. So at this time, it's the intention of the village board to meet in closed session under sections 2C5, 2C11, and 2C21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. The village board will not reconvene to open session as no formal action will occur during the closed session. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn? Am I adjourning or just?
Or just going into closed session.
To go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Nope. Roll call.
Roll call, thank you.
Motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale, Trustee Augustine. And if Clerk Jones could do that roll call, I'd appreciate it.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee McGee absent. Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
Trustee Thompson?
Aye.
And at 8:57, the motion to go into closed session passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody.